Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Hope and Healing. It is Mia and Lawanda here today.
Hey y'all, Lawanda's here. It's my first time. I'm excited to be here.
So guys, we as you know, we like to go over what we spoke about on the previous episode. So we're going to jump right into that.
Yes.
Last week was super juicy. We talked about traumatic emotional bonding.
Yes.
We just basically gave the description of exactly what it was and how it affects so many lives and so many survivors of different sorts. We pointed out that it's not just something that survivors of domestic violence go through.
Right.
But survivors of different traumatic experiences like rape, sexual trafficking, and different things like that. So with the traumatic emotional bonding, as we spoke of last week, it is kind of a situation where the hostage or the abused individual feels a certain type of connection or bond
Right.
with their abuser, and they try to protect them, and many times they don't go through with filing for charges, and then that spun off into us speaking about how families interact with the survivors.
Yes.
And sometimes they make them feel like they don't have a real support system because they feel like they're being judged.
Yes. Yes.
Guys, if you did not listen into that episode, please make sure to go back and check it out.
Yes, it was very, very educational, very informative, not just for survivors, but for those who love survivors and who really want to help. It gave us insight into the mentality and the thought process of those who are abused. So I would really admonish you, if you did not listen to the episode last week, please do so. So for this week, we will talk about the importance of having an informal support system.
Yes.
Informal. When we think about support, we think about, getting professional help and all of these types of things. But when it comes to the informal support system, it's really the group that has the most influence. If you think about it, those that are closest to us, they have the most influence on us, not just in these types of situations, but in all. So the definition of an informal support system are the many forms of helpfulness and assistance that people freely give to each other in daily life. It can be our parents, it can be our family, it can be friends, siblings, colleagues, neighbors, community. Anyone in our circle of influence is our informal support system.
And you know what is so crazy? As you were just going further in detail about the definition of an informal support, I was just thinking back to where we were just talking about the traumatic bonding and how, a lot of times survivors will say they feel alone or they feel misunderstood.
Yes.
And sometimes they're crying out for understanding. Sometimes, survivors are wanting to be loved. Sometimes they don't want to talk about the situation that they're in. They just want to feel love.
Yes.
And so if you are an informal support to someone going through a traumatic experience, please make sure that sometimes just hug them, just love them, just talk to them. It shouldn't always be about, domestic violence or, the situation that they could be going through. Sometimes they just need that love.
Yes. And not always being a survivor. Let me interject there. I am a survivor myself. And I can remember when I needed and wanted help and those times where I didn't feel safe, that it was a safe place. There were those times where I just wanted someone not to try to fix it, but just to simply listen, not judge, but just to really give me an ear and not tell me what they would do. I don't want to hear, I didn't always want to hear what they would do, because someone outside of the situation can always tell you what they would do or what they wouldn't do, what they wouldn't allow. And that's really not at that moment support.
Right.
So we really have to do an internal search and look to make sure that when we are supporting those who are in a domestic violence or, situation, that we truly are lending support. I think about people who have other types of situations. I'll take weight loss. If someone is overweight, every time you talk to them, are you really going to talk about Weight Watchers or they need to lose weight all the time?
Right.
Right. it will discourage you from even bringing it up or from even being around those people. And that leads to isolation. So it's always a trickle effect with things. So we just have to be very careful when we're giving support.
And you know what, as you were speaking on isolation, we have to be very clear that when you're going through these situations, mental health is definitely key. We have to pay attention to the survivors' mental health, whether it be your sister, your brother, whomever, because let's be clear, men go through it too.
Yes.
And so when you notice someone becoming isolated, you know, it's okay to approach the situation, of course, with love and kindness, but make sure you encourage them to go and get the help that they need.
Right.
You know, sometimes you may not have what you think are, you know, the key answers to what they're going through, but you can encourage them to go and get the answers.
Yes.
You might be that bridge that they need, because let's be clear, suicide rates among people who go through traumatic situations are pretty high. You know, I'm going to look into the statistics on that.
Yes. Let's make a note of that.
Yeah, we will make a note of that. But so yeah, you could be that difference, that one person to tell them, you know what, I believe in you. I trust you. I love you. I know that you're strong. I know that you're more than a conqueror. You know, just begin to speak life and positivity to them that they need. Some of the things that we don't want to do as informal supporters, we don't want to ghost them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, so we know that this is a heavy situation and everybody is not built to be that support, you know, system or the main primary source of support. But it's okay to tell them, you know what? This is a lot for me. Let's work together and find you a support system, a counselor, a therapist, or a church, or, you know, some other outlet for them. Don't ghost them, please.
Yes. And I always like to use other situations to allow people to relate. And this may seem kind of dark, but just stick with me. Okay. So you know how caregivers for individuals who may have a terminal illness, they reach out to hospice.
Right.
That's the purpose of hospice, is to give the caregiver support more than the person who's ill. You know, nurses and all of those, they give the patient the support, but hospice really gives the caregiver a break. Okay. But there's a point where the caregiver has to realize that they need a break. The caregiver has to understand that they don't have everything that the patient needs. So similarly, with those who are going through things like domestic violence, like you said, if someone comes to me and they tell me and I don't have in me what I need to give that person everything they need, I have to be aware that I don't and don't try to be the fixer. And actually reach out to those counselors, those third parties, so to speak, that could help the support system. And
the key thing is just knowing when it's too much for you.
Yes.
Because you know what? Aware. When it becomes too much for you as the support system, how much help are you really to them?
Right.
So it's okay to say, you know what? This is a lot. This is a lot on me. I think that maybe we should go to, if you're the sister, maybe we should go to mom together.
Right.
Or maybe we should, you know, recognize when it's too much for you. Because you are important as the informal support as well. Okay?
Yep.
Have you ever tried to save someone? Guys, listen, for real. Have y'all ever tried to save someone who was drowning?
No.
I have. And it was an experience. I'm trying to tell you. Let me tell you, and I'm a big one. I'm 6'1", okay? And so we're all in the pool, and I'm like, I see my friend, and she's going under. She done went too far in the pool, right? So I'm jumping in, going to save her, because, you know, when I stand up, I'm tall as all the water, right? So I'm jumping in, I'm going to save her, not knowing anything about saving someone who's drowning, but I'm like, I'm going to save her. So I'll jump in, and every time I try to pick her up, she pulls me down. Yep. And so that's an example of what happens when you overwhelm yourself as an informal support. And guys, it wasn't fun. We made it out because I'm here today. Yeah, I'm still here.
We thank Jesus.
Thank you, right?
And another example real quick is when you're in the airplane and if something happens, they always tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before you try to help someone else.
And it's important.
Yeah.
Look out for yourself too. And another key thing is to stay positive. You know, a lot of times,
yes,
just think about what you're saying. You know, are you really giving them that positive feedback? And I'm not telling you to be an enabler at all, but you can positively give some direct advice. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, you know what?
I hate him or her too,
yeah.
and all of that. Yeah.
You could say, you know what? It's okay to walk away from negative situations. Protect your peace. You know what I mean? Just think of the words that you're saying. Make sure that you're sowing positivity into their lives. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's so important.
It really is. And it'll help. I mean, positivity, just like misery loves company, you can breed positivity around you as well. If you remain positive, eventually the situation and circumstances around you will become positive.
And that's the thing. And so we've been talking about this. I think I said it last week on the episode too. Guys, let's make being positive contagious, please. We love to say, oh, all of this is going on in the world. What's going on in the world? I can't watch the news. I can't. But listen, when you hear a positive conversation, when you see a positive post, share it.
Right.
When you hear a positive podcast, support it. When you see your neighbor doing something positive, tell them, man, I appreciate what you're doing. Guys, we can't change the world unless we really take part and be active in the course of action, and that's spreading positive love and vibes.
Yes, let it go viral.
Please, let us go viral. You hear me? Download it and share it.
Yes.
So, y'all, that was our topic for this week. But what we are going to talk about before we go is just a little bit about what we have coming up at Whole Life Healing Center. We are more than a podcast. Y'all hear me say that every week. We are actually a nonprofit organization out here in Atlanta, and we're working hard to, transform and impart positive, vibes here in our community as it relates to domestic violence and survivors of all sorts.
Yes.
So what we do have coming up is our live workout. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I know y'all hear me. Y'all feel my vibes. I'm a lot of fun. Join us on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. And Wednesdays and Thursdays, guys, we have a certified trainer. Her name is Unique. She is certified at 8 a.m. every Wednesday and Thursday for the next month. We will be working out. So you're not alone. If you want to work out, if you want to build your muscle tone, if you want to lose a few pounds, join us. Or if you just want to have a good time.
Yes. Summer, y'all. Summer.
Hello. And don't forget, y'all, we do give out shout outs to businesses. So if you want to email us, send us what you're doing. Give us a quick blurb about what you're doing, something positive that you're doing. You don't necessarily have to be a nonprofit to send us that email. It's Mia at wholelifehealingcenter.org.
That's Mia at wholelifehealingcenter.org.
You heard it twice. And we are out, guys. Our job is done here. Don't forget, if you want to donate, www.wholelifehealingcenter.org. or Cash App, $ Whole Life Healing.
Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you all next week.